Ahlan wa sahlan. Right now we're going to talk about the root and pattern system in Arabic, or what we call in Arabic al-jadr, meaning a root, and al-wazn, meaning a pattern. The vast majority of Arabic words are derived from a three-consonant root, triconsonantal root, a jadr. And it's important to be able to kind of figure out what that root is, because we're going to need to know what that root is in order to look up a word in a dictionary. So even if we don't know a word, we're going to need to kind of be able to figure out a root. As you learn more vocabulary, it's going to become easier and easier for you to do that. For now, it's a good idea to start paying attention to the consonants of words as you learn them, and matching up specific words you know that share patterns, so we can get good at recognizing those patterns, those judur. So let's take a look at these examples, these four examples right here. If we were going to look any of them up in a dictionary, we would need to figure out what the root is. And these all might be words that you have learned, right? Kitab, which means book in Arabic. Maktab, which means a desk or an office. Tektub, the conjugated verb for she writes. And katib, which means writer. So if we were going to figure out what that three-letter root is, there are certain things that we can eliminate straight off. For example, this meme in maktab isn't really shared by any of the other words. We have an alif, a long alif here and a long alif here, but they're not in these others. So they're probably not part of the root, and eventually it's probably pretty clear that all of these words share three letters in order: kaf, ta, ba. So if we were going to look any of them up in the dictionary, we would look under kaf, ta, ba, and we would find all of these words. The essential meaning of this root has to do with writing, and if we use a little bit of poetic imagination, you know, a book, an office, the verb to write, a writer, we can see the connection that these words have, sort of in terms of meaning. Let's take another example. Wahid, the number one. Wahid, which can mean only or lonely in Arabic. And wahda, which depending on the context could mean unity or loneliness, right? What's the common denominator? Well, we have a ta marbuta here. That's not going to be part of the root. Okay, we have a ya, there's no alif in these other words, so those probably are not part of the root, and we're left with waw, ha, dal, which is a root that at its core means has a sort of basic root meaning of onlyness or loneliness or oneness, essentially, right? So this is the kind of process that we're going to need to go through. And again, for now, as you acquire vocabulary, think about the consonants and whether they might match up with other words that you know, and that's a skill that's going to develop with time. Another thing to start paying attention to is wazn, pattern. Right, the way in which these judur, these roots, are added into kind of an exoskeleton to create meaning. Here are some words that you might have encountered: latif, jamil, gharib, tawil. Right, they all share the same kind of rhythmic stress. We have a fatha sound and then a long ya as the third letter of the word, and they're all adjectival in meaning, right? Latif, which means kind or nice. Jamil, meaning beautiful. Gharib, meaning strange. Tawil, meaning tall or long. And if you listen again to that vowel stress, fatha, long ya, think about wahid, right? And remember what it means. It means only or lonely. It's also an adjective that shares this wazn. There are a lot of different awzan out there. Awzan is the plural of wazn, singular. Again, for now, it's important to tune your ear to the music of those awzan and those judur and start making those connections, because when it comes time to start looking up words in dictionaries, it will be very, very useful to you. And actually, once you've developed sort of a large enough toolbox of words and started to cultivate that intuitive understanding, it can help you decipher the meaning of words without using a dictionary at all, which is going to be very helpful for things like reading speed and comprehension.